Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes in life, a woman has to stand alone. Not because she wants to, but because the people around her don't always match the depth of her soul. As you walk through this world, you'll notice that many surround themselves with others just to escape the silence, to avoid loneliness. But a woman who chooses to walk alone is one who understands her own strength. There's a unique power in being able to stand on your own, especially as a woman. Independence and self-sufficiency don't happen overnight. They are forged through experience, hard work, and often solitude. A woman who stands on her own without relying on a network of friends for validation isn't just surviving. She's living on her own terms. She understands that her strength doesn't come from those around her, but from within. In a world that constantly glorifies companionship and social connections, it's easy to forget the power of independence. Society may try to convince you that you need a tribe, a support system, or a team to make it in life. But here's the truth. Not everyone is meant to walk alongside others. A woman who chooses independence has learned to trust herself because, at the end of the day, she is the one person she can always count on. This kind of self-sufficiency isn't about rejecting relationships or pushing people away. It's about recognizing that while relationships can be valuable, they do not define her. She doesn't need friends to feel validated, important, or brave. Her worth is something she defines for herself, something she carries with her every day. When challenges arise, she doesn't run to others for answers. She looks within, trusting her instincts, her knowledge, and her experiences. This inner strength is what sets her apart from those who feel lost without external validation. When a woman is self-sufficient, she becomes unstoppable. She doesn't fall apart when people walk away, nor does she crumble in the face of adversity. Instead, she taps into a deep well of resilience that she has built over time. She has learned that the only person she can truly rely on is herself. And that is more than enough. It's not just about emotional resilience, but about navigating life without constantly seeking affirmation or approval from others. She makes her own decisions and takes full responsibility for them, knowing that her life is hers to shape. Independence also means having the courage to stand alone in her beliefs, values, and vision for life. It's easy to follow the crowd, to do what everyone else is doing, to blend in. But a truly independent woman isn't interested in taking the easy path. She's interested in doing what's right for her. This level of independence requires awareness and confidence that many never develop because they're too focused on pleasing others. But a woman who stands alone has learned to drown out society's expectations. She listens to her own voice, honors her own needs, and makes choices that align with her true self. This kind of independence isn't just about surviving, it's empowering. A woman with this inner strength knows she can rely on herself in any situation. She doesn't depend on others to solve her problems or guide her through life. Instead, she becomes her own guide, carving out her own path and claiming her own space in the world. This level of self-sufficiency is rare, and it's what allows her to thrive, even when she's walking alone. One of the most important aspects of independence is the relationship she builds with herself, not just in making decisions, but in every area of her life. A self-sufficient woman learns to take care of herself mentally, emotionally, and physically. She doesn't wait for someone to come and rescue her or fix her problems. She takes responsibility for her own happiness, health, and future. That's what makes her so powerful. She is not at the mercy of anyone else. This doesn't mean she never needs help or that she shuts people out. But when she seeks support, it's on her terms. She doesn't rely on others for her survival or her sense of self. She has built a life she can sustain on her own, and that is both rare and powerful. However, this independence doesn't isolate her. In fact, it strengthens the relationships she chooses to have. When a woman is whole on her own, She doesn't enter relationships out of need or desperation. She welcomes people into her life because she values them, not because she needs them to complete her. This creates a sense of balance and respect in her relationships that many never experience. Independence is a form of freedom. Freedom from the weight of opinions, expectations, and judgments allows her to walk her own path, guided by her inner compass. A woman who is truly authentic isn't afraid to stand alone because she knows that wherever she goes, she is enough. She carries everything she needs within herself, not just to survive, but to thrive. We're often led to believe that the more people we surround ourselves with, the better our lives will be. But a woman who chooses to walk without a large circle of friends understands something deeper. She knows that the value of relationships isn't measured by quantity, but by quality. It's not about how many people you have around you. It's about the depth, meaning, and authenticity of the connections you choose to keep. Many seek popularity or large social circles because they believe it gives them a sense of worth. The more friends, the more social gatherings, the more validation they receive, the better they feel about themselves. But that kind of thinking only leads to shallow connections. Fleeting interactions that may offer temporary companionship but lack the depth that true friendships bring. A woman who values quality over quantity in her relationships sees things differently. She has learned that not everyone deserves access to her time, energy, or life. Friendship isn't about being surrounded by a crowd of people who barely know you. It's about having those few individuals who truly understand you, who stand by you in difficult times, and who challenge you to grow. She isn't interested in small talk or surface-level interactions. She craves real, meaningful conversations. She seeks people who see her for who she truly is, not just for what she can offer in the moment. This approach to relationships requires a different kind of strength. It's easy to fill life with acquaintances, to keep people around just to avoid feeling alone. But it takes wisdom to recognize that true connection is rare and cannot be forced or rushed. A woman who values quality understands that having one or two genuine friends is far more fulfilling than having 100 superficial ones. She isn't interested in the appearance of connection. She cares about the substance of it. Choosing quality over quantity also means knowing when to let go. There are times when people drift away, and that's okay. Not everyone is meant to stay. Not every friendship is built to last forever. A woman who values real connection understands this. She doesn't cling to relationships that no longer serve her, and she doesn't hold on to people out of fear of being alone. She trusts herself enough to release what no longer aligns with her journey, even if it means having fewer people in her life. Walking away from relationships isn't always easy, especially when there's history or when time and energy have been invested. But holding on to fading, toxic, or unfulfilling connections only holds you back. A woman who understands the importance of quality knows that it's better to walk alone than to walk with people who don't truly care about her. She recognizes that protecting her peace and energy is far more important than maintaining the illusion of friendship. This mindset also shapes how she approaches new relationships. She isn't in a rush to make friends. She takes her time to understand people's intentions and see if they align with her values. She doesn't expect perfection, but she values authenticity. If a relationship feels forced or unbalanced, she isn't afraid to step back. She knows that real connection can't be faked, and she's willing to wait for the right people to come into her life. By prioritizing quality over quantity, a woman frees herself from the pressure to conform to social expectations. Society often measures success by how many friends you have, how often you're invited to events, and how socially connected you appear to be. But a woman who values authenticity knows that this kind of validation is empty. She isn't concerned with maintaining appearances. She focuses on building genuine relationships that bring real value to her life. In the quiet moments, when she's alone with her thoughts, she doesn't feel lonely. That's because the few relationships she has are deep, fulfilling, and real. These are the people she can count on when life gets tough, the ones who stand by her no matter what. She doesn't need a large circle to feel secure, because the connections she has are more than enough. This perspective on relationships also allows her to be fully present with the people in her life. When you're stretched thin, trying to maintain dozens of shallow friendships, it's hard to give anyone your full attention. But by choosing quality, she invests deeply in those who truly matter. But when a woman focuses on quality, she has the time and energy to invest in the people who truly matter. She can show up for them in a real way, just as they do for her. It creates a bond built on trust, respect, and genuine understanding. Prioritizing quality over quantity isn't just about friendships, it's a way of life. It's about recognizing that not everything that glitters is gold. It's about choosing depth over superficiality, substance over appearance. A woman who understands this isn't caught up in the allure of popularity or the need for validation. She walks her own path, knowing that the few meaningful connections she has are worth more than 100 empty ones. She understands that the depth of her relationships is what enriches her life, not the sheer number of them. Self-reflection and personal growth are some of the most powerful forces in life, and solitude provides the perfect space for them to flourish. When a woman finds herself alone, she has an opportunity that many overlook, the chance to truly know herself on a deeper level. Friendships can offer support and joy, but solitude presents a rare and uninterrupted space where she can focus entirely on her own growth, free from outside distractions and influences. In this space, self-reflection becomes a tool that strengthens her awareness, sharpens her resilience, and deepens her ability to live independently. In a world filled with noise and constant social interactions, it's easy to lose touch with who you really are. Many people define themselves by the roles they play: friend, daughter, partner. But when those roles fade away, what remains? This is where the magic of solitude happens. Without external expectations or the need to fulfill certain roles, a woman is left with herself. This time alone becomes an opportunity to ask the big questions. What do I truly want? What do I believe in? Who am I when no one else is around? These aren't easy questions, and they require a level of honesty many people avoid. But a woman in solitude doesn't have the luxury of avoiding them. She faces herself head on. Self-reflection isn't about being harsh on yourself. It's about looking inward with both compassion and curiosity. It's about examining your experiences, your desires, your fears, and your dreams. It's about understanding what drives you and what holds you back. This process isn't always comfortable, but it is necessary for growth. Through introspection, she starts to recognize her patterns of behavior, her emotional triggers, and her strengths and weaknesses. Without the distractions of constant friendships, she can focus on herself in ways that weren't possible before. There's no pressure to always be available for others, no external expectations shaping her thoughts and actions. This solitude creates a space where she can finally hear her own voice without interruption. That's crucial because in the noise of social interactions, it's easy for that inner voice to be drowned out by the opinions and expectations of others. But when she's alone, that voice becomes clear and it has a lot to say. As she listens to herself, she realizes that personal growth isn't a one-time achievement. It's a lifelong journey. Every experience, every challenge, every setback is an opportunity to learn and evolve. In solitude, she finds herself, and that space becomes fertile ground for transformation. Without the influence of others shaping her thoughts or opinions, she begins to develop her own, free from the need for approval. This independent way of thinking is empowering because it allows her to see the world through her own lens, rather than the collective perspective of a group. This period of reflection also helps her confront any unresolved issues within herself. Sometimes, people use friendships as a way to distract themselves from the things they don't want to face, whether it's emotional pain, insecurities, or unfinished goals. But when there are no friends around to divert her attention, a woman is forced to confront these issues head on. This can be challenging, but it's also a path to healing. She learns to process past wounds, let go of outdated narratives, and embrace a future where she's no longer weighed down by unresolved emotions. Another powerful aspect of solitude is that it allows her to recognize her own resilience. Without others to lean on, she discovers that she is more than capable of handling life's challenges on her own. She becomes more resourceful, more independent, and more confident in her ability to navigate life's difficulties. She learns that she doesn't need to rely on others for validation or support. She has the inner strength to face whatever comes her way. This realization builds a deep sense of self-confidence, one of the most valuable things a person can have. When a woman trusts herself, she becomes unshakable. But self-reflection isn't just about facing challenges. It's also about acknowledging and celebrating her achievements. In the quiet of solitude, she can reflect on how far she's come. She can recognize her accomplishments without feeling the need to downplay them or seek validation from others. She can take pride in her personal growth, her resilience, and the unique qualities that make her who she is. Through this journey of introspection, she also gains clarity about what she wants for her future. She can set goals that align with her true desires rather than the expectations of others. She becomes more intentional about the life she wants to build, the career she wants to pursue, and the kind of relationships she wants to nurture. Without friends influencing her path, there's no pressure to conform to a specific lifestyle or follow a predetermined route. Instead, she is free to carve out her own journey, guided by her own values and aspirations. A woman discovers that personal growth doesn't just happen when she's surrounded by others. In fact, some of the deepest transformations occur when she's alone, when she has the space to reflect, reassess, and rebuild herself from the inside out. This kind of self-creation is quiet, steady, and transformative. It's not about making constant, drastic changes, but rather about the gradual evolution that happens when she takes the time to understand herself, nurture her spirit, and grow in ways that truly matter to her. Solitude becomes a gift. It offers space for reflection, healing, and self-discovery in a way that the noise of the outside world never could. A woman without friends isn't disconnected. She has the most important connection of all, the one with herself. One of the most empowering realizations a woman can have is that she doesn't need to conform to society's expectations to live a fulfilling life. When she chooses to walk a path without a large social circle, she is rejecting the idea that her worth is tied to her social connections or popularity. Society tends to place a high value on being surrounded by others, mistaking social status for the number of friends or social engagements a person has. But a woman who walks alone has learned that her worth isn't measured by how many people she knows or how often she's seen in social circles. This decision to live authentically, despite societal pressure, requires incredible strength. The world constantly sends messages that success, happiness, and fulfillment require fitting into a specific mold, one that often includes being highly social, participating in group activities, and maintaining a wide network. But a woman who knows her own worth sees beyond these surface-level standards. She understands that her value comes from within, from her talents, her character, her mind, and her heart, not from how well she fits into society's narrow definitions of success. Living authentically means recognizing that conformity is a trap. It's easy to fall into the habit of doing what's expected rather than what truly feels right. Society loves to dictate how women should behave, who they should befriend, and what kind of life they should lead. But a woman who is comfortable in her solitude has freed herself from these constraints. She no longer plays a role to fit into someone else's narrative. Instead, she is writing her own story, defining her own path, and living on her own terms. This decision to embrace authenticity often comes after a period of deep reflection and growth. A woman who has spent time alone, who has truly gotten to know herself, understands the importance of being true to who she is. She realizes that trying to conform to societal expectations only leads to frustration, dissatisfaction, and a sense of disconnect from her own being. By stepping away from the crowd and embracing her individuality, she aligns more closely with her purpose, passions, and personal goals. The freedom that comes from rejecting societal pressures is truly liberating. When a woman stops worrying about what others think of her, she can focus on what truly matters in her life. She doesn't need outside approval to feel validated, and she doesn't have to follow the crowd to feel included. She is confident in her choices, even if those choices lead her down a path that looks different from the one society has laid out for her. This confidence allows her to stand firm in her decisions, even when they go against the grain. Choosing to live authentically doesn't mean a woman rejects all social connections or isolates herself from the world. It simply means she is selective about who she allows into her life. She surrounds herself with people who respect her for who she truly is, not for who they want her to be. She seeks relationships built on mutual understanding, honesty, and respect rather than surface-level interactions or social convenience. In doing so, she creates a life rich with meaning and connection, even if her circle is small. Living authentically also means her journey will look different from others. Society often pressures women to follow certain timelines. By a specific age, they should have a particular number of friends, a certain kind of social life, and even specific achievements. But a woman who refuses to give in to these pressures understands that life isn't a one-size-fits-all experience. She knows her path is unique, and she's at peace with that. She isn't in a race to achieve someone else's version of success. Instead, she focuses on her own growth, happiness, and goals. This shift in mindset is incredibly powerful because it allows a woman to live with integrity. She no longer makes decisions based on what is expected of her. She makes choices that feel right for her. This level of authenticity brings peace because she's no longer chasing unrealistic standards or pretending to be someone she's not. Instead, she presents herself to the world exactly as she is, unapologetically. And that kind of authenticity attracts the right people and opportunities into her life. When a woman decides to live on her own terms, she becomes a role model, whether she realizes it or not. Others see her courage to follow her own path, and it inspires them to do the same. By rejecting the pressure to conform, she gives others permission to embrace their individuality. This ripple effect is powerful because it challenges societal norms and encourages people to question the status quo. Living authentically is about trusting yourself, trusting that you know what's best for your own life, even if it looks different from the lives of those around you. It's about recognizing that your worth doesn't come from external sources, but from within. A woman who walks this path knows she doesn't need validation from friends or society to feel whole. She understands her value and isn't afraid to live in a way that honors who she truly is. Choosing authenticity over conformity is an act of self-love. It's a declaration that her happiness, peace, and purpose matter more than fitting into someone else's idea of what her life should be. By choosing this path, she finds true freedom, the freedom to be herself, to pursue her passions, and to build a life that feels fulfilling on her own terms. And that is a life worth living. One of the most profound benefits a woman gains from solitude is the opportunity to develop emotional resilience and independence. Without the constant presence of others, she learns to navigate her emotions on her own. What may begin as a necessity soon becomes one of her greatest strengths. In a world where people often rely on others for emotional support, validation, or even just distraction from their inner struggles, a woman who walks alone learns to trust herself in ways many others don't. When you're surrounded by friends or immersed in social circles, it's easy to turn to others in difficult moments, seeking advice, venting frustrations, or simply needing someone to listen. There's comfort in knowing someone is there. But when those friendships fade or aren't present, a woman is forced to look inward for answers, strength, and stability. This process of inner transformation creates an unmatched level of emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is the ability to recover from adversity, to face life's inevitable challenges without being overwhelmed by them. A woman who spends time in solitude doesn't have the luxury of constant external reassurance, so she learns to build the strength from within. She becomes her own source of comfort and support. This doesn't mean she suppresses her emotions or pretends everything is fine when it isn't. On the contrary, she faces her feelings head on, allowing herself to experience them fully while also learning how to process them in a healthy, productive way. She becomes more in tune with her emotions. Without the distractions of social interactions, she has the space to truly understand what she's feeling. She learns to sit with discomfort, to work through sadness, anger, or fear without needing someone else to validate or fix it for her. This kind of emotional independence is incredibly powerful because it teaches a woman that she doesn't need anyone else to validate her feelings or help her process them. She realizes she is fully capable of handling her emotional world on her own. This creates an unshakable inner strength. When a woman knows she can rely on herself emotionally, she becomes less vulnerable to life's ups and downs. She no longer depends on the presence or approval of others to feel secure or content. This kind of emotional resilience allows her to face challenges head on without breaking under the weight of them. It's not that she doesn't experience pain or difficulties, but she has learned how to process those emotions in a way that doesn't leave her feeling powerless. Developing emotional resilience through solitude also teaches a woman the importance of setting boundaries. When constantly surrounded by others, it's easy to lose sight of your own needs in an effort to please people or maintain harmony in relationships. But a woman who walks alone learns to prioritize her emotional well-being. She understands that she doesn't have to be everything for everyone, and that she isn't obligated to tolerate relationships that drain her energy or disrupt her peace. Solitude gives her the clarity to recognize what truly matters and what she can let go of, and it gives her the courage to enforce those boundaries without guilt. This emotional independence changes the way she approaches relationships because she has already done the work to fill those spaces within herself. It allows her to connect with others from a place of security rather than dependency. She values meaningful connections, but she doesn't cling to them out of fear of being alone. She is comfortable with herself, and that confidence carries into every relationship she forms. It also strengthens her ability to handle rejection and disappointment with grace. When she has spent time alone and learned to navigate her emotions independently, she becomes less reactive to external circumstances. If someone walks away, if a relationship doesn't work out, or if life throws unexpected challenges her way, she doesn't fall apart. She has already learned how to stand strong in her solitude, how to lift herself up without needing someone else to do it for her. This makes her more adaptable and less likely to be defeated by life's inevitable twists and turns. Independence and solitude also allow a woman to develop a deeper sense of courage. When she stops seeking validation from others, she starts to see her worth in a whole new light. She begins to understand that her value isn't tied to how many friends she has, how often she's invited to social events, or how much approval she gets from others. Instead, her worth comes from within, from her character, her integrity, and her ability to persevere through difficult times. This inner courage becomes far more meaningful than any external praise ever could. Through this journey of emotional resilience and independence, a woman also becomes more self-aware. She gains a deeper understanding of her emotional triggers, her behavioral patterns, and her strengths. She learns what truly makes her happy, fulfilled, and at peace, and she begins to build her life around those things instead of looking for fulfillment in external sources. This level of self-awareness is empowering because it gives her the tools to navigate life with clarity and purpose. Emotional resilience and independence are gifts that come from solitude. A woman who learns to stand on her own emotionally becomes unbreakable. She isn't swayed by the opinions of others. She doesn't rely on external support to feel secure, and she isn't afraid of being alone. Instead, she embraces her solitude as a source of strength and growth. She understands that real power comes from within, and no matter what life throws her way, she has the inner resources to handle it with grace and resilience. This not only makes her stronger, but also brings her a deeper sense of peace with herself and the world around her. When a woman spends time alone, she naturally begins to prioritize her growth and well-being in ways that often get overlooked when she's caught up in constant companionship or social noise. In solitude, she gains the clarity to focus on what truly matters to her, on what nourishes her soul and moves her toward the life she wants. In this space of independence, her perspective shifts inward, making personal growth and self-care an intentional part of her daily life. Without the distractions of external relationships or the obligations of maintaining social connections, she has the freedom to ask herself the important questions. What do I really want from life? What truly makes me happy? What do I need to work on to become the best version of myself? These reflections often go unnoticed when someone is consumed by the demands of friendships, family, or societal expectations. But in solitude, a woman has the space to listen to herself, to understand what she truly needs, and to make choices that align with her deepest desires. But when a woman embraces solitude, she gains the opportunity to turn inward and focus on her own growth and self-discovery, without the noise of outside opinions or social pressures. Personal development in this context is multidimensional. It's not just about learning new skills or achieving career goals, though those are important. It's also about emotional, spiritual, and mental growth. It's about becoming more self-aware, understanding her triggers, strengths, and weaknesses, and being willing to face the areas that need improvement. A woman who walks alone develops a deep sense of self-awareness because she has the time and space to reflect on her thoughts and behaviors without external distractions. She learns the true meaning of self-care, not in the superficial sense of pampering or temporary indulgences, but in the deeper sense of nurturing her mind, body, and spirit. She realizes that self-care isn't a luxury or something to be done only when she's burned out. It's an essential part of her well-being. She begins to prioritize activities that replenish her energy, whether it's exercising, meditating, reading, journaling, or simply spending time in nature. By doing this, she cultivates an inner peace that becomes the foundation of her daily life. Prioritizing self-care also makes her more intentional with her time. A woman who walks alone understands that her time is valuable, and she no longer wastes it on people or activities that drain her energy. She becomes more selective about how she spends her days, focusing on what truly matters for her growth and happiness. This might mean dedicating herself to personal projects, learning new skills, or engaging in hobbies that bring her joy and fulfillment. She no longer feels the need to fill her schedule with empty social interactions or obligations just to fit in. Instead, she chooses activities that align with her values and contribute to her overall well-being. As she continues to prioritize her growth, she also becomes more confident in setting boundaries. When you spend time alone, it becomes easier to see where you've been overextending yourself or allowing others to take advantage of your time and energy. Solitude brings clarity, helping her recognize when she needs to say no, when to protect her peace, and when to put her own needs ahead of other people's demands. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect, and it helps her maintain a healthy balance between her relationships and personal well-being. One of the most powerful changes that happen when a woman embraces solitude is that she begins to trust her own judgment and intuition. She starts making decisions based on what feels right for her, rather than what others expect or suggest. This sense of self-trust is incredibly empowering because it allows her to move through life with confidence and certainty. She becomes more in tune with her inner voice, relying on it to guide her rather than seeking constant external validation. This growing self-confidence also leads to a deeper level of self-respect. When a woman prioritizes her own growth and well-being, she starts to see herself in a new light. She recognizes her worth and refuses to settle for less than she deserves, whether in relationships, her career, or any other aspect of her life. She holds herself to a higher standard because she knows she is capable of achieving great things. This self-respect becomes a guiding force in her life, helping her navigate challenges with grace and dignity. Beyond personal growth and self-care, solitude allows a woman to cultivate a deep sense of purpose. Without the distractions of social obligations or the influence of others, she has the space to explore what truly drives her, what she's passionate about, and what kind of legacy she wants to leave behind. This sense of purpose gives her life meaning and direction. It fuels her growth and motivates her to keep pushing forward, even when the journey gets tough. Living with purpose also means she becomes more focused on her long-term goals instead of getting caught up in short-term distractions that often pull people off course. She is able to see the bigger picture and make decisions that align with her vision for the future. This clarity gives her a deep sense of fulfillment because she knows that everything she's doing is contributing to her personal growth and happiness. When a woman embraces solitude, she discovers that prioritizing her own growth and well-being isn't selfish, it's necessary. It is through this journey of self-discovery, self-care, and self-respect that she becomes the best version of herself. She learns that taking care of her own needs doesn't mean neglecting others. It means she's able to show up even better in her relationships and in life. By making herself a priority, she becomes stronger, more resilient, and more capable of achieving her goals and living a life that's true to who she is. In the end, walking alone as a woman isn't a sign of isolation or weakness. It's a powerful journey of self-discovery, emotional resilience, and independence. It is through solitude that she gains clarity, strength, and an unshakable sense of self. She learns to trust her instincts, prioritize her growth, and nurture her well-being without relying on external validation. This path equips her with the tools to navigate life's challenges with grace, set healthy boundaries, and live with purpose. Ultimately, she doesn't walk through life as someone who is lonely. She walks through life as someone who is fulfilled, whole, and completely capable of facing the world with strength, dignity, and confidence.